Tell Us Ellis podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's Jamie coming back at you with another two teams for our Major League Baseball previews. Today, we're going to be looking at the Colorado Rockies and the Philadelphia Phillies. Boy, there can't be more of a dichotomy of differences between these two teams, but we're going to get into the details in a little bit. Just to preview what's coming up, so we've got the Rockies and Phillies today. Tomorrow we'll have the Tigers and Yankees, and then we're going to fill out the week with the Astros and Mets. We'll do the Royals and Twins. We'll do the Nationals and Brewers, and then we'll finish with the Dodgers and Marlins. And that'll be our 30-team preview. I will then come back with a preview show before the start of the season, and then we'll get into the season. And we will have baseball in, less than 2 weeks, so very exciting. Want to thank you all for following and listening to the podcast. The feedback has been great. The numbers have been great. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I know some of you, as I said at the very beginning, aren't baseball lovers, but you've still listened, and I really appreciate that. And then once we get through the baseball season, we're going to come back and do some football stuff with Murph. We'll do some NBA stuff with Buckler. We've got WrestleMania coming up, so we'll do the Kristen and Dustin Bush and talk to them about WrestleMania. I might do a preview show for AEW Revolution tomorrow. Still up in the air with it, so we'll see. If not, I'll make sure that that we recap it in some way at some point down the road. Again, if you are liking this show, please make sure you click subscribe, whether that's on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, or all three, or everything that you can possibly listen to this podcast on. Sure, why not? Click subscribe. And if you like the episode, give it a thumbs up. If you're interested, please follow me on social media at TellUsEllisHQ. That's on X, that's on Instagram. And then if you have any questions, want to join the show, have thoughts, feel free to email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. With that, we will start, and don't fast forward through this because you have to learn about every team, okay? But we are going to start with the Colorado Rockies. Okay, I teased it a little bit. Why did I say don't fast forward through the Colorado Rockies? Well, it's because they are, without a doubt, the worst team in baseball right now. If you look at their history over the last 5 years, 2021, they won 74 games. That was actually their high water mark. If you look at these last 5 years, they finished in fourth place at that time back in 21, 32 and a half games back. 2022, they fell to 68 wins, 68 and 94, which was fifth place, 43 games back. The next year, 2023, they fell to 59 wins. They were 59 and 103, which was fifth place again, 41 games back. 2024, they did win two more games. They won 61 games and went 61 and 101, fifth place, 37 games back. And then last year, the bottom just fell out. They were 43 wins and 119 losses. Just awful record. Fifth place, 50 games back. Look, this is a team that has had 9 total winning seasons in 33 years of play. 9 wins in 33 years. Just awful. Speaking specifically about last year, on June 1st, this was a team that had just 9 wins on June 1st. 9 wins and 50 losses. So really tough times in Colorado. The good news is they've made some changes and seem to be making a commitment to change, and that's a good thing. So I'll start with the manager. Warren Schaefer took over a full-time manager role in 2026, or will take over in 2026. He was the interim manager for Bud Black, who was fired in mid-2025. And he seems having a strong relationship with his players and an understanding of team culture. He's young, energetic. He's got a good work ethic, and he's a really good communicator. This is a huge challenge, and he's been part of Colorado for a long time. He was a minor league player for Colorado. He was a coach. He was a major league coach, and now he is the Major League Baseball manager. So again, 43 wins, tough time to take over. Paul DePodesta is the president of baseball operations as of November of 25. So again, making a commitment to Schaefer on a full-time basis. Now you have Paul DePodesta, who's really a veteran general manager, front office type, who's well known for his analytical approach. He's worked in the front office of Cleveland, of Oakland, the Mets, the Padres, the Dodgers. He even served 10 years under the Cleveland Browns ownership group as their chief strategy officer. There's a lot of optimism with a guy like DePodesta coming in, but it will also take some time. General manager is Josh Burns. He is kind of the day-to-day operational executor under DePodesta. He joined after DePodesta was hired. He's worked in many front offices, including the Dodgers when they were world champions. He's had GM stints with the Diamondbacks and Padres, and he's had prior experience with the Rockies as an assistant GM. Look, this is a strong leadership team. You've got DePodesta, you've got Burns, two really strong guys. Warren Schaefer is a good young manager. So again, there's some upside here. If you're looking as a Colorado fan, you've got the front office in place. Now, what about ownership? Ownership, it's the Monfort family. Richard Monfort is the owner, the chair, the CEO, and the managing general partner. Charles Monfort is the co-owner, vice chair, and general partner. They had partial control in the 90s and then got full control in 2005. Really good community ties in Denver, and they're committed to Denver. It's just the on-field results have been bad. There's this negative feeling and perception of ownership that they're just conservative, too conservative, and just poor baseball decisions overall. So again, not a lot of excitement there if you're a Rockies fan from an ownership standpoint. But I will say, when you make a commitment like this to general managers and presidents of baseball operation of that high a quality, you've got to get excited about something. And I think that's a really good sign. Rockies playing Coors Field, beautiful stadium. I've been there before. Of course, you've got the high altitude. The ball just flies in Colorado. From a run differential standpoint, they're at a plus 128. Again, that means that a player who normally hits at league average in one stadium will hit 28% higher in Colorado, just from a run standpoint. So a lot more runs scored in Colorado. They're actually, the way that spreads throughout the year, April is down about 6%, May is up 4%, June is up 6%, July is down 2%, August up 4%, and then September down 6%. Again, just the differential with wind flow and altitude. But overall, even with those ups and downs, they still weight highly towards it being an explosive run differential to the positive side in Colorado. So let's look at what this team did in the offseason. Again, you're starting with very little here. And in the offseason, they lost shortstop Orlando Arcia. He was a .202 hitter, 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, limited action. You lost Michael Toglia, first baseman, to the Reds, 190 hitter, 11 home runs, 32 RBIs, just a 611 OPS. You lost Kyle Farmer to the Braves, an infielder who batted .227, 8 home runs and 31 RBIs, a 645 OPS. From a pitching standpoint, you lost Angel Shavili. I think I'm saying that right. He went over to the Yankees in a trade. Shavili 1-5 with a 7.06 ERA in 43 games. So that's a lot of games, 7.06 ERA. And then German Marquez, who's been a starting pitcher for this Rockies team for a while, he ended up with the Padres. Last year, Marquez 3-16 with a 6.70 ERA. And that was in 26 games. That's in 126 and a third innings. Struck out just 83 batters, pitched to a 171 whip, and again, a 6.70 ERA. So you look at that and you say, well, we're not losing that much from a productivity standpoint. And I would agree with that. So what did they add? They added utility infielder Willie Castro, 226, 11 home runs, 33 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, a 679 OPS. They added outfielder Jake McCarthy, 204 average, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, just a 592 OPS. Edward Julian, a second baseman from Minnesota, 220 hitter, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, just a 633 OPS. Then from a pitching standpoint, and I like what they did here, they added Jose Quintana. Quintana, 11-7 last year with a 3.96 ERA. 24 games started. He pitched 131 and 2/3 innings, struck out just 89 hitters, but pitched to a 129 whip. Also added Michael Lorenzen, a starting pitcher, 7-11 with a 4.64 ERA. 26 games started, 141 and 2/3 innings. He struck out 127 batters and pitched to a 133 whip. And then Tomoyuki Sagano from the Orioles, starting pitcher, went 10-10 with a 4.64 ERA, 30 games, 157 innings, 106 strikeouts, pitched to a 133 whip. They also made a trade with the Twins for Pearson Ole. He's a relief pitcher, 0-2 with a 5.10 ERA in 14 games last year, just 30 innings pitched, 27 strikeouts, and Ole pitched to a 1.5 whip. So I like what they did from a starting pitching standpoint. You didn't bring in superstars or anything like that. You brought in guys who competed at a pretty average level, but gave you innings, and that's what they need. Right now, you're a rebuilding team. You need a bunch of innings eaters, players, pitchers that can just throw the ball. You're going to need a lot of starters, I think, to get through this season. So when you look at the breakdown of the Rockies and how they performed last year, let's start with the hitting side. They were 23rd in the league in average and 27. And you may say, okay, that's bad. That's bottom third. But Jamie, that's not terrible. That doesn't sound like a 43-win team. But remember, those numbers are in Colorado, where, like I said, the hitting differential, you're scoring 28% more runs per game in Colorado, just given the altitude. And they're still only averaging, they're 23rd in average. They're 27th in OPS in Colorado. So I think that says something. Let's start there with a lineup and just look at what they're going to throw out there this year. Again, this is what's expected. It's not necessarily what the final lineup will be. But I think left field, Jake McCarthy coming over will man left field. Again, 204 average last year, 4 home runs, 6 stolen bases. But, 28 years old now, and he'll come over and play left field. Shortstop, Ezekiel Tovar, who is homegrown, 24 years old. A lot of upside. This will be his 4th big league season. Last year batted .253, 9 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Just doesn't get on base enough. 294 was his on base percentage, but he'll play shortstop and be in that lineup almost every day. Hunter Goodman will be the catcher. Now, a lot of upside here with Hunter Goodman. He's 26 years old. Last year batted .278 with 31 home runs. Yeah, that to all you fantasy players out there, you might want to look at him as your catcher. 843 OPS. So he's definitely going to hit somewhere in the heart of this order, as is Mickey Moniak. Moniak, 27 years old. He'll be close to 28 by opening day. He was the first overall pick by the Phillies back in 2016, could never put anything together. Last year in Colorado, batted .270, 24 home runs, 9 stolen bases, an 824 OPS. Still only got on base at a 306 clip, but Moniak having kind of his career year, breakout year. Jordan Beck, will be 25 on opening day. Beck is going to play right field. By the way, Moniak's mostly DH is what I'd project him at. Jordan Beck will mostly play right field for this team. Beck batted .258, 16 home runs, 19 stolen bases for this team last year. Gets on base again, only a 317 clip. And his OPS, below 750. So Beck is going to have to improve his game a little bit. He was the 38th overall pick in the first round back in 2022. So you have to think that there's some upside there. Willie Castro is slated to be the third baseman on a pretty regular basis. Castro will be 29 years old on opening day. Again, 226 last year, 11 home runs, 10 stolen bases. OPS below 700. Brenton Doyle will play center field most days for this team. Doyle, 27 years old, closer to 28 on opening day, batted 233 with 15 home runs and 18 stolen bases. You do see some speed in this lineup. The problem is they just don't get on base enough. Again, 274 on base percentage for Doyle. Has to do a little bit more than that. Troy Johnson will likely play first base. Johnson, just 121 plate appearances last year, batted 277 with 4 home runs. On base, 331, 751 OPS. And then Edward Julian will likely play second base most days. 220 hitter, just 3 home runs. Again, 309 on base percentage. Yeah, they ranked 30th, dead last in on base percentage last year. If you look at the bench, some players that could platoon maybe, get some good at bats. I'll start with the catcher. Braxton Fulford will likely be the backup catcher. Just 120 plate appearances last year, batted 213. Blaine Krim, 28 years old, could be the backup first baseman. Just 74 plate appearances last year, batted 200 with 5 home runs. Ryan Ritter is a utility guy, can play the infield, can play the outfield, batted 241, just 1 home run, 3 stolen bases last year. And then again, Tyler Freeman, another utility guy, infielder, outfielder, did bat 281 last year, got on base at a 354 clip, 2 home runs, 18 stolen bases. So from a hitting standpoint, a couple of pieces in there that play up, especially in Colorado, and a couple prospective pieces that have to just, bottom line, to have to just get on base and hit better. But the Rockies lineup certainly needs to be built out further. And that's, again, the job of this front office. Now, if you're looking at starting pitching, this is a pitching staff that was 30th in ERA, 30th in WHIP last year, and it's going to have a new look, a little bit of a new look. So Kyle Freeland will be one of the starters, potentially opening day starter. He's been with Colorado. He's 32 years old, 33 or close to it on opening day. He was a first-round pick of the Rockies back in 2014, 8th overall. Last year, pitched to a 4.98 ERA, 162 and 2/3 innings, 193 hits, and 124 strikeouts, just 38 walks. But he's probably the closest thing they have to a top-of-the-rotation starter. Now, I mentioned 3 pitchers that are going to be new to this rotation this year. Michael Lorenzen, who I really like, was a free agent from Kansas City. Pitched to a 4.64 ERA last year, but he pitched 141 and 2/3 innings, gave up 149 hits, struck out 127 batters. But I like him and that veteran presence. He'll be 34 years old for this team on opening day. Jose Quintana, another veteran, 37 years old. He came over from Milwaukee last year where he pitched to a 3.96 ERA, 131 and 2/3 innings, 120 hits, just 89 strikeouts. But again, another guy who will give you innings in this rotation. And then Tomoyuki Sagano pitched for the Orioles last year, came over from Asia overseas, pitched to a 4.64 ERA for Baltimore, 157 innings, gave up 173 hits, struck out just 106, but only walked 36 batters as well. And then Chase Dolander, who was a first-round pick of the Rockies, number 9 overall back in 2023. He came out last year, threw 98 innings, gave up 103 hits, struck out 82, but pitched to a 6.52 ERA. They're going to put him out there every 5th day and give him every chance to pitch. So that's what the rotation looks like. Again, different, 2 homegrown players, 3 free agents coming out, and hopefully they can improve upon that 30th ranking in ERA and WHIP from last year. From a bullpen standpoint, this team finished 29th in ERA and 29th in WHIP. Again, you do have to take the altitude into account here. That's going to hurt every pitcher. But, closer is Victor Vodnik. Victor had 10 saves last year, pitched to a 3.02 ERA, 50 and 2/3 innings, 45 hits, 49 strikeouts. So he's going to lock down that closer role. From a setup standpoint, you have Jimmy Herget, who pitched to a 2.48 ERA last year, 83 and 1/3 innings, just 72 hits and 81 strikeouts. You really like those numbers. Juan Mejia will also be a setup pitcher for this team, a 3.96 ERA last year, 61 and 1/3 innings, 52 hits and 68 strikeouts. just 25 walks. So, pretty good back end of the bullpen there. From a middle relief standpoint, you've got Zach Agnes, who, Agnes, 25 years old, pitched to a 6.61 ERA last year, 31 in the third innings, 31 hits, 19 strikeouts. You don't love those numbers from a middle reliever. You've got Brennan Bernardino, who actually pitched to a 3.14 ERA last year, 51 and two-thirds innings, just 39 hits, 43 strikeouts. So you do like that ERA. John Brebbia is a non-roster invitee who Fangraphs projects him to make this bullpen as a non-roster invitee. He pitched for Boston last year, 23 and a third innings, 28 hits, and 26 strikeouts, but a 7.71 ERA in those 23 and a third innings. We'll see how he can perform if he makes this team. And then another middle reliever, Keegan Thompson, he came over through a waiver claim from Cincinnati. Didn't pitch in the majors last year. Thompson, long history with the Cubs, pitched in the minors last year, but he is on this 40-man roster and will have a chance to lock down a mid-bullpen spot. From a long relief standpoint, right now, Antonio Senzatella is likely to take that long relief role. 6.65 ERA last year. Did start some games, 130 innings, 192 hits. Just 73 strikeouts and 47 walks. You look at that, he's giving up 2 base runners an inning almost. That does not bode well, but that's what it tends to look like right now. So, you look, this team paid out a lot of money to get Chris Bryant a couple years ago. He has never panned out for them. He's had degenerative disc issues, and it's very unlikely he's going to get much playing time, if at all, this year. He's on the 60-day IL right now. I mentioned Pearson Ole coming over in a trade with Minnesota. He had Tommy John surgery in February of 26, so he's not going to pitch this year. And then they've got a couple other pitchers. RJ Pettit, who's got a sprained elbow right now, he's been out since the beginning of March. And then Jeff Criswell is on the 60-day IL. He had Tommy John surgery back in March of 25. He will likely get a chance to join this team at some point, although he does have options remaining as well. So that's the makeup of this team. Again, 43 wins last year, and the major league roster is not looking great. What about their minor league system? And this is where it even becomes more disappointing. From a minor league standpoint, farm system rankings, Baseball America has them dead last in baseball. And as I said at the beginning, Paul DePodesta is going to come over here, and he has this very undaunting task of building up this minor league system while taking lumps on the field, probably for the next at least 3 years, before this team can really build into something. They've got to build that minor league system first, and that's where it has to start. So let's talk about their minor league system, and I'm only going to talk about 2 players. They only have 2 players in the top 100. One of them is Ethan Holiday, who's an 18-year-old, so he's not ready yet. He was viewed as a number 1 pick all throughout the lead up to the 25 draft, and Colorado drafted him on the heels of drafting his father back in 1998. They ended up drafting Ethan Holiday. He was the 2025 High School Player of the Year. After being drafted, he began his career at low A ball last year at Fresno. He hit .239 with 2 home runs, but the most concerning thing was he struck out 39% of the time. That was the 3rd worst strikeout rate by a first-round pick in his draft year in the past decade for anybody that had at least 50 plate appearances. The only 2 that struck out more were Elijah Green and Vance Honeycutt. Vance Honeycutt, of course, of the Orioles. Physically, Holiday looks more like his dad than he does Jackson Holiday. More of a power hitter. He's 6'4", 195 pounds. He's got a lot of muscle. He's particularly advanced at pitch recognition. He lays off borderline pitches and works counts deep. He's comfortable taking walks, which is good. Sprays the ball to all fields. Definitely has legitimate 30 home run power and upside. His swing and miss rate was nearly 43% in 2025, which again was really high. He does have good bat speed and feel for the zone. It suggests he'll be able to make adjustments over time with time and experience. He's got solid hands and enough arm to handle shortstop for now, but his future might be third base or maybe even a corner outfield spot, possibly even first base down the road. He's a below average runner, so again, not like his brother Jackson in that way. Look, this is a guy who the Rockies really hope is a cornerstone player for them for years and years to come, and he can be a dependable everyday player who makes more consistent contact. And if he does that and the power comes along, his game, he could be an impact hitter. Only 18 years old again, so I don't want to put too much stock in his brief debut last year, but if he goes out this year and let's say he starts in low A or even high A ball, if he has those strikeout rates, that's something to be concerned of. It's something to be concerned about, no doubt about it. The only other player I'll mention is their number 2 prospect for the Rockies, and that's Charlie Condon. He's a first baseman, big guy, 6'6", 211 pounds. He was one of the premier hitters in the 2024 draft class. He had elite power at Georgia. He led the nation in batting average and slugging percentage. He won the College Player of the Year in 2024. The Rockies drafted him 3rd overall. They signed him for $9.25 million. His pro debut was cut short by a hand injury, and then he broke his wrist later on diving for a ball during spring training in 2025. So, you want to see this guy get healthy. He's got, like I said, this 6'6", long, levered, well-proportioned frame. His swing is low, and his overall swing maintenance is mechanically sound. He struggled against breaking balls and changeups in pro ball. His chase rate did decline over time, indicating improved plate discipline, which is good. He's got top-tier exit velocities, but his strikeout rate of 30% and his in-zone whiff rate of 22%, pretty high. He played third base and outfield in college, but is pretty much looking at first base in Major League Baseball. He's got below average speed, but an above average arm. Look, Condon, if he can maximize his power and improve his contact rate, he has a chance to be a middle of the lineup bat for a long time. But he did have those struggles in 2025 with whiff rates, and that raised the question on his ceiling. I think 2026 is going to be a huge year for him. He's 22 years old. Again, this is a guy that the Rockies would love to put in the middle of that lineup and just play. But, this is one of the risks I see with this Rockies team. And again, it's players that DePodesta has inherited. But if Holiday continues to strike out at the rates he did in his brief time in 25, and if Condon continues to swing and miss at balls, these are 2 of their top prospects. And if they're bust, it's just going to take longer for DePodesta to reset this minor league system. Now, the Rockies also had international bonus money. They did not go for any top-end talent this year. Instead, they took the $8 million they had to spend and they spread it to players outside of the top 50. So, really, I don't mind that approach because it's about building up competition, and that is something you have to do before you get a lot of high-end talent. This is a farm system that ranked 21st in 2025. 25th in 2021, 24th in 2022, 14th in 23, 23rd in 24, 13th in 25, and again, their 30th here entering 26. So, they're going to take some time. That's all I can say. Be patient, Rockies fans. If they fall out of contention early on, they do have a couple players they could move. Kyle Freeland, he's set to make $16 million in 2026. He's got a $17 million vesting option in 27. He could be expendable. He's been a workhorse for this team. Michael Lorenzen's a good veteran arm. Again, could be expendable at the deadline. He's paid $7.75 million in 2026, and he's got a $9 million club option for 27. Jose Quintana signed for $6 million in 2026 with a $9 million club option he's a free agent in 2027. So he's an expendable player. And then Tomoyuki Sagano, again, $5.1 million in 26 and a free agent in 27. So those are all players that could be expendable if the Rockies fall out of this race early on, or these top of the rotation arms that clubs are going to throw top 100 prospects at. Probably not. But it's about depth and creating competition in a minor league system that's pretty void of talent. So, the good thing, if you're a Rockies fan, they continue to draw well. Coming out of 2021, when the stands were half full because there were still some COVID restrictions. 2022, despite a last place finish, they drew close to 2.6 million fans. 2023, they drew over 2.6 million fans. 2024, they drew 2.5 million fans. 2025, they drew 2.4 million fans. So, they have gone down the last 2 years, but they're still drawing close to 2.5 million, which is pretty good. How long are the fans going to continue to come out to see a very bad team? I think if they see something being built, they'll come out, but they need to see it and know that this team is investing. And if they can do that, I think they'll continue to draw, hopefully so. And, give it 4 years, 5 years. This feels like a team that's going to be more ready close to 2030 than it is anytime soon. So that's your 2026 Colorado Rockies. All right, let's move to a much happier place, and that is the 2026 Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies have been on fire. If you look at the last 5 years, they won 82 games in 2021. They finished in second place, missed the playoffs. They finished 6.5 games back. That was 2021. 2022 was a very exciting season for the Phillies. They went 87-75, third place, 14 games back. They still made the playoffs. They won the National League wild card 2-0 over St. Louis. They won the National League Division Series 3-1 over Atlanta. They won the National League Championship Series 4-1 over San Diego. They go to the World Series and they lose 4-2 to Houston. But a very exciting year that really got the fans in Philly really going. Okay. You enter 2023 now and they win 90 games, 90-72. They finish in second place, still 14 games back. They win the National League wild card 2-0 over Miami. They win the National League Division Series 3-1 over Atlanta. So now, again, they're playing Arizona, a surprise team, to go to the World Series, and they're expected to go, but they end up losing to Arizona 4-3. Arizona ends up going to the World Series and losing to Texas, and a disappointing finish in that NLCS in 23 for the Phillies. Fast forward to 24, they win 95 games. They go 95-67, win the division. They go to the playoffs and they lose 3-1 in the NL Division Series to the Mets. Another disappointing loss. 2025, last season, they win 96 games, 96-66. Again, first place. They go to the National League Division Series against the Dodgers and they lose 3-1. So, disappointing. Last season, they were not below second place throughout the season. They never fell lower than second place. They took over first place on August 3rd and won 7 out of 8 after that to solidify their hold. But again, lost right away in the NLDS to the Dodgers, the team that everybody in the National League needs to beat if they want to move on and win the pennant in the National League. So let's talk about manager. So Rob Thompson has been the manager since June 2022 when he took over for Joe Girardi. He is signed through at least 2027. He spent 28 years with the Yankees in coaching and development roles, including bench coach and third base coach. In general, he's seen as an effective leader who really stabilized the team after a shaky start in 22. He's respected by the media. He's respected by fans. Some do criticize back-to-back NLDS losses. I get it. It's tough to manage in Philly. Fans will never be satisfied. Now, again, losing 3-1 to the Mets after winning 95 games and winning the division, that is a disappointment. Losing 3-1 last year to the Dodgers, an unbelievable team. You've got to give a little grace there, I think. But yeah, overall, Thompson's seen as a good manager from a GM standpoint. Dave Dombrowski is the president of baseball operations. He's been there since December of 2020. Preston Mattingly is his GM since November of 24. And it's interesting, Sam Fuld is finishing his MBA and then will return as the president of business operations in May of 26. I thought that was pretty interesting. Dave Dombrowski is a proven baseball exec. I mean, he's got a strong track record. He's credited with turning the Phillies into consistent contenders. He's well known. You know, Dombrowski is just a name you hear in baseball circles all the time. Preston Mattingly is a rising exec with a very positive reputation. Didn't realize he was the son of Don Mattingly, which is interesting. He's got the trust and confidence of leadership, and baseball insiders praise him. So him working under Dombrowski is a really good, proven system. From an ownership standpoint, John Middleton is the managing and controlling owner of an ownership group. He leads them. He became part of this ownership group in 1994 and became controlling owner in 2016. Seen very positively. He's willing to spend and push payroll, supports aggressive roster building, especially at a time when they are competitive. And he's created a lot of stability, especially with bringing Dombrowski in and then Mattingly. So pretty revered. And again, this is a really good Phillies run here. They play at Citizens Bank Park. Overall, they're a little bit, overall 102 is their runs rating. So about 2% more runs in Philly in that park than average. Of that 102 rating, they're actually down 5% in April, down 2% in May, and then up 1% in June, up 4% in July, up 2% in August, and then plays pretty neutral in September. So not a little bit of a hitter's park, not a tremendous hitter's park, but a little bit higher than average. So what did this team do to improve themselves or make changes, or did they feel like they needed to make any changes? Well, let's first talk about who they lost. Max Kepler is an outfielder, still a free agent, batted .216 with 18 home runs, 52 RBIs, 691 OPS. He's still a free agent. The rest of these players are all lost. I'll start with offense. Harrison Bader is an outfielder. He signed with the Giants, .277, 17 home runs, 54 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, and a 796 OPS. I understand why they let him go, but I really like his bat in this lineup, and I like his bat in the Giants lineup. I'll talk more about his replacement in a little bit. Nick Castellanos. There was a lot of tension between Castellanos and the front office. Batted .272, 17 home runs, 72 RBIs, 694 OPS. He signed with the Padres. The rest of these players that they lost are all pitchers. And I'll start with the big one. Ranger Suarez signed with the Red Sox in the offseason. He was 12-8 with a 3.20 ERA, 157 in the third inning, struck out 151 batters, and pitched to a 122 whip. So his innings will be definitely, they will feel that loss. 157 innings of 3.2 ERA baseball, pretty good. And again, they'll miss that. From a bullpen standpoint, they lost Matt Strahm in a trade with the Royals. Strahm was 2-3 with a 2.74 ERA, 62 in a third inning, 70 strikeouts, and a 107 whip. That was in 66 games. Those are pretty good numbers. So you'll miss Strahm. Jordan Romano pitched to an 8.23 ERA last year. It was 2-4. Hoping for a bounce back year with the Angels, but Romano is no longer on this team. Dave Robertson retired. He was 2-0 with a 4.08 ERA in 17 2/3 innings last year. Robertson, that guy that always pitches out of the pen, sometimes was closing games, but he is retiring. And then Walker Buehler signed with the Padres. Walker 10-7 with a 4.93 ERA, 24 games started. He pitched 126 innings, struck out 92 batters, and pitched to a 152 whip last year in Major League Baseball. So the biggest loss, Suarez. Biggest bat loss, Bader. Yes, Castellanos as well. And then the biggest bullpen loss was definitely Stram. So what did they do about it? Well, first they had to take care of their own. They re-signed Kyle Schwarber, which was huge. Schwarber, 240 average. Okay, he doesn't hit for average, but 56 home runs. He drove in 132 runs, a 928 OPS. He will sit in that order every day and hit a lot of home runs and drive in a lot of runs. So that was a really good re-signing. JT Realmuto was re-signed as a catcher, 257, 12 home runs, 52 RBIs. He's getting older, 699 OPS, but good catcher and good bat in that lineup. So, a nice re-signing. Brad Keller was signed as a relief pitcher. Keller 4-2 with a 2.07 ERA last year, 69 2/3 innings, 75 strikeouts, an 0.96 whip. That was in 68 games. Basically, there is your Matt Stram replacement. So you have to like that if you're the Phillies. I feel pretty good that they have a makeup for Matt Stram in that bullpen. They also signed Adolis Garcia, an outfielder who played with the Rangers. He'll get a shot to play in the outfield for the Phillies, 227, 19 home runs, 75 RBIs. So you're replacing some of the power production of, say, a Castellanos. 13 stolen bases, so maybe you're replacing some of the Harrison Bader stolen bases. A 665 OPS lower than you want. Dylan Moore has signed a minor league deal with this team. Moore 201 with 11 home runs, 25 RBIs, 14 stolen bases, just a 641 OPS. We'll see if he makes the team. The rest of the players they signed were all relief pitchers. Jonathan Bolin actually came over in a trade with the Royals, 1-2 with a 3.86 ERA, 44 1/3 innings, 46 strikeouts, and a 122 whip in 34 games. You kind of like those numbers. Kyle Backus came over in a trade with the Diamondbacks, another reliever, 0-3 with a 4.62 ERA, 25 1/3 innings. So not a lot of innings last year, so they'll give him a shot. And then Zach Pop, a relief pitcher, was 0-1 with a 14.85 ERA just in 5 games, 6 2/3 innings. He's got a really good arm when he's healthy. So they'll see what he can do here in spring training and see if he can make this team. So that's the changes that the Phillies had in the offseason. So I think we have to look at, hitting, starting pitching, and bullpen. How did they look last year? Did some of these players and changes address where they had holes last year? So let's start with hitting, right? They finished second in average, fourth in on-base percentage, and fourth in OPS. So you basically want to replicate what you did last year. Again, we talked about some of the turnover they had. Let's look at their lineup. So Trey Turner's going to be back as shortstop. Trey Turner will be close to 33 years old on opening day. He'll play every day, 304 average, 15 home runs, 36 stolen bases last year, 355 on base percentage. Look, over an 800 OPS. Trey Turner, really good shortstop, going to get a chance to play every day, and you've got to feel good with Trey at shortstop. Schwarber's going to primarily play DH, might get some looks in the outfield. I gave you his numbers, 240, 56 home runs, 10 stolen bases, gets on base at a 365 clip, greater than 900 OPS. He'll play every day, and you should feel really good about his bat in the lineup. Bryce Harper, now 33 years old. Harper's going to play first base for you, 261 last year, but 27 home runs, 12 stolen bases, gets on base, 357. Another player that has an above 800 OPS. So far, you feel really good about this lineup. Alec Baum is third baseman for this team, 287, 11 home runs, 331 OPS, 409 slugging percentage, So a little bit of fall off there. Baum's now 29 years old. He'll turn 30 this season. Serviceable at third base for this Phillies team. You've got Brandon Marsh in left field. Brandon Marsh, a left-hand hitter. He's pesky. I'll tell you, he's a pesky hitter. 280, gets on base at a 342 clip, 443 slugging percentage, so close to 800 OPS, 11 home runs, 7 stolen bases, and he'll platoon a little bit in left field as well. So that's Marsh. You bring over Adolis Garcia, right field. He's a right-handed bat, 33 years old. Again, 227, lower average, only a 271 on base percentage. Did hit 19 home runs, stole 13 bases last year, so he'll get a chance to play right field for the Phillies. You've got Bryson Stott at second base. He's another left-handed hitter in this lineup, kind of a platoon guy. 57, 13 home runs, but 24 stolen bases. Gets on base at a 328 clip. You'd like that to be a little bit higher. But whether Stott starts or if he comes off the bench as a pinch runner, he does have a lot of speed on this team. We mentioned JT Realmuto, catcher, 257, 12 home runs. He'll catch most games for this team. And then, I talked a lot about the loss of Harrison Bader on this team, but they didn't sign him because Justin Crawford, who is a 22-year-old prospect for this team that we're going to talk about in just a little bit, he's probably going to get a chance to break camp with this team. I say probably. He's 22 years old. He's not even on the 40-man roster right now. He was invited to spring training as a non-roster invitee. He's the 3rd overall prospect for this Phillies team. Again, we'll get into him a little bit later, but he's going to have a chance to play center field for this team and see what he can do. From a bench standpoint, where that projects right now, you could see Dylan Moore make this team. Again, he's a non-roster invitee, 201 hitter last year, 11 home runs, 14 stolen bases. 33 years old, good veteran presence for this team. Otto Kemp is a utility infielder, outfielder. Last year, 234, 8 home runs, 2 stolen bases. That's in 218 plate appearances. You've got Edmundo Sosa, 30-year-old infielder. So, again, utility guy, 276 with 11 home runs last year. And then backup catcher, probably Rafael Marchand, 210 average, 2 home runs. He only had 118 plate appearances, but again, you're going to get Realmuto most days behind the plate. So I think, they mostly made up what they lost in hitting, and I have no qualms about this offense for this Philadelphia Phillies team, especially the top of that lineup. The first 4 or so hitters really get on base at a good clip, and they'll do some damage. What about starting pitching? So, this is a team that lost Ranger Suarez, but they were 2nd in ERA and 5th in WHIP last year. So what does this starting rotation look like? Well, at top of the rotation starter, Christopher Sanchez, 29 years old, just great season last year, 202 innings, 171 hits, 212 strikeouts, 250 ERA. I think they're banking on him replicating that in order for this team to not miss Ranger Suarez as much. So if he can do that, you're really set in that number 1 starter spot. Jesus Luzardo will slot right behind him, 2 lefties with Sanchez and Luzardo. Luzardo, great year last year. He's been a prospect for a long time, really broke out last year, 183 and 2/3 innings, just 167 hits, 216 strikeouts, 392 ERA. Just, again, great year, everything that you expected from Luzardo. He was that. Big question for the Phillies, is Aaron Nola going to be Aaron Nola pre-2025? Because he had a bad year, battled some injuries, only started 17 games, threw just 94 1/3 innings. In those 94 1/3 innings, he gave up 99 hits, only walked 28, struck out 97, but pitched to a 6.01 ERA. If he can pitch to the Aaron Nola of old, then boy, this Phillies team is going to go a long way towards repeating as a division champion. A lot will fall on Nola's shoulders. Okay, Taijuan Walker is going to probably project as the 4th starter in this rotation. Walker, 4.08 ERA last year, 21 starts, 123 and 2/3 innings, 132 hits, just 86 strikeouts. So, projects better as a fifth starter, but he can play. He can pitch as a fourth starter if Nola's pitching well. If not, you need somebody else to step up. And my guess is that Andrew Painter, a prospect, 22 years old, 23 at opening day, is the guy that the Phillies want to step up and be the answer in this rotation. We'll talk a lot more about Painter in just a little bit, but he projects to break camp with this team and be the fifth starter. So again, you lose Ranger Suarez. You have Painter hopefully stepping in. You have Nola hopefully stepping up. Again, even if the team takes a little bit of a step back starting pitching-wise, they were still second in ERA and fifth in WHIP last year. What about bullpen? So bullpen, they finished 20th in ERA, 20th in WHIP. You're looking at the, back third of the league in bullpen. Now, they did make some changes. So, number one, you're going to have Johan Duran as your closer. Duran, one of the best in baseball, 2.06 ERA last year. And this was both with the Twins and Phillies. But 2.06 ERA, 70 innings, 58 hits, 80 strikeouts, just 19 walks, pitched to a 2.06 ERA and had 32 saves. You feel really good about that spot. Setup men, you've got Jose Alvarado, the lefty, 26 innings last year, 27 hits and 32 strikeouts, 3.81 ERA. You're hoping Alvarado can do a little bit more than that this year. Your right-hand setup guy, again, Brad Keller coming over. He's going to fill a big role for this team. 69 and 2/3 innings, just 45 hits, 75 strikeouts, and a 2.07 ERA. So I feel good about Keller being that right-hander out of the pen as a setup guy. If Alvarado doesn't work out as a setup guy, another lefty out there is Tanner Banks. He's either going to be middle relief or a setup guy as a lefty. Banks, 67 in the third innings last year, just 56 hits and 61 strikeouts, pitched to a 3.07 ERA. So feel good about Banks, whether he's a middle reliever or a setup guy. Kyle Backus is another lefty, probably figures into that mid-relief role. 25 in the third innings last year, just 28 hits, 22 strikeouts, pitched to a 4.62 ERA. Right now, I'd slate him somewhere in middle relief. And then from a right-hander standpoint, you've got Ryan Keckering as a right-handed middle reliever, 3.30 ERA last year, 60 innings, 55 hits, and 65 strikeouts. You've got Jonathan Bolin, again, coming over this year in a trade with Kansas City, 3.86 ERA last year, 44 in the third innings, 37 hits, and 46 strikeouts. And then from a long relief standpoint, Zach McCambley is probably going to be that guy. He was signed as a Rule 5 pick from Miami. So assuming they want to keep him, he has to stay on the roster. You could put him in that long relief role. He is 26 years old, approaching 27 on opening day. He was a third-round pick of the Marlins back in 2020. So he's going to have a chance to make this team and see what he can do. From an injury standpoint, Zach Wheeler is a really important arm in this rotation. He had surgery, thoracic outlet depression surgery. I don't know if that's the same as thoracic outlet syndrome surgery, which can really be serious, I believe. But he had surgery back in September of last year. He should be ready to pitch at some time here in pretty early 2026. He won't make opening day. He's progressing well. He's starting to face live hitters, or he's about to face live hitters. But Wheeler would be a huge uptick and boost to this rotation, especially if Nola comes back and can't do what he has done in the past, or if Painter shows he's not ready to pitch yet, or Walker doesn't have a great early outings. So keep an eye on that and what Wheeler could do to this team if he does get a chance to come out there and pitch every fifth day. So that is your 25-man roster, what it projects to be. What about this Phillies farm system? So, this is a system that ranked back in 2021, ranked 27th in baseball, 2022 ranked 23rd, 2023 up to 19th, 2024 they were 21st, 2025 they were 20th, and for 26 they still rank right around 20th in the league. I'm going to go over a couple of players out of their farm system, and two in particular I've already talked about, but the number one player in their farm system is the 14th prospect overall in baseball, and that's shortstop Aiden Miller. He's 21 years old, stands 6'2". He was part of 3 USA Baseball national teams, hit .423 as a member of the 18 and under squad. He was a first round 2023 draft pick despite a broken left wrist that sidelined him for almost all of his senior season at Florida's Port Richey High School. He improved in every area and now stands not only as the Phillies' top prospect, but also as one of the top prospects in baseball. Believe it or not, he advanced to AAA in his second full season as a professional. So he sets up really nicely as a future shortstop of this team, maybe as the heir apparent to Trey Turner. His footwork is steadied. His arm stroke is improved. It's leading to more consistent, accurate throws with a lot of zip and the potential to stay at shortstop or maybe move to third base. But scouts think he can remain at shortstop for the time being. He began the season at 25 at AA, and he struggled early on at AA, but he adjusted his approach, started hitting balls really well, started really focusing on pitches he could drive. August and September, he absolutely caught fire. He hit .356, got on base .491 with a .607 slugging percentage. I mean, that's close to an 1,100 OPS. 6 home runs across 36 games in AA and AAA. This was all last August and September again. He's a well-rounded hitter. He can hit for average. He gets on base. He produces power. So he's got all the tools. He can cover almost the entire plate with his bat. He can handle multiple pitch types. He's can unleash some of his best swings, has a knack for doing it when the right pitches come. Overall, he's an average runner. He's not going to steal a ton of bases for you, but he does have good stolen base instincts. He had 59 stolen bases in 2025. I do not expect him to have that in Major League Baseball. He grades out at a 50 running. Maybe he could steal 10 bases. Look, he's probably going to get a chance to play third base some this year in the minors, and that could open up more of a clear path for him to hit the majors. There's a chance we could see him in 2026. Again, that might be more at third base than shortstop. We'll see. I mentioned Alec Baum, and he's really nice at third base. I don't think he's going to replace Trey Turner anytime soon, but yeah, he's a really nice player. Again, 14th overall in baseball. Scouting grades, he's got a hit grade of 55, power of 55, run of 50, arm of 60, and a fielding of 60. So again, keep an eye on this kid. Again, 21 years old, so he'll have a chance to perhaps make this Phillies team at some point in 2026. The other two prospects I want to talk about are two that I've already covered. Andrew Painter is the 32nd best prospect in baseball. He's number 2 for the Phillies. Again, 22 years old. He became one of the handful of high school pitchers to reach AA in their first full professional season. His elbow started hurting in spring of 23, and it resulted in Tommy John surgery that kept him out until the Arizona Fall League in 24. He came back in 2025 and pitched in AAA and showed flashes of his upside, but he needs some work on some things. He saw a downgrade in his fastball quality. Some of that may have been mechanics related. He raised his arm slot a little bit, which could have led to some decline in speed. He worked on a two-seam sweeper, I should say, and a split changeup. So that was something he was able to toy with last year. His next step is really just relearning his command, making sure that he throws the right pitches at the right time, see if he can work on some of his secondary pitches, make sure he hits the zone and throws strikes and can start sequencing some of those things. He projects to be at least a mid-rotation starter. I would expect him to pitch in AAA and get his legs under him. If he starts pitching really well, I think he could very well be in Philly pretty soon. I don't expect him to break camp with his team, but there's a chance he could. So we'll see where things work out for him, but definitely a pitcher worth keeping an eye on. The other player who's really interesting is Justin Crawford. I think he's got every chance to break camp with his team. The door is open for him to come out and play center field. He's the son of former outfielder Carl Crawford, who was a beast, a really highly rated prospect that, boy, early in his career, he was like a fantasy phenom. Justin Crawford was drafted 17th overall out of high school in 2022. He spent all of 2025 at AAA, batted .334, and ranked third in the full season minor leagues in hitting. And over his minor league career, he owns a .332 average. He can just flat out hit the ball. And he's got the ability to make hard contact. But his ground ball rate over the last 2 seasons is 60%, a little over 60%, which is the 4th worst in the minor leagues among players with at least 500 at bats. So, somehow he's got to use this double plus speed. He's got to be able to put the ball in play to do that, and really wants to hit more line drives than ground balls. So, a lot of his success is going to hinge on his ability to hit line drives instead of ground balls. It's interesting also, he's got all this speed, but yet his defense doesn't rate as high as you would think. He's got a 50 grade on defense and a 50 grade arm, despite his 70 grade speed. Now, some of this scouts blame on how the Phillies have him playing in so much because they want to use his speed to be able to break back on balls, but they feel like maybe some of his grading doesn't show how good he can play in the outfield because he's always chasing balls over his shoulder. But we'll see as time goes on. Maybe center field's not the right place for him. Maybe he could be more of a plus defender in left field. But, look, if he can hit the ball better on line drives versus ground balls, if he can play better center field and take the right routes to get to the ball, I think his defense could improve. I fully expect him to play center field opening day for the Phillies. So we'll see if he breaks camp with his team. But as this farm system ranks 20th, a lot of that talent is in these top 3 guys, 2 of which I fully expect in Philly this year. And Aiden Miller could be in Philadelphia at some point by the end of the year. Now, from an international standpoint, the Phillies made a lot of nice moves this international signing period. They signed the 3rd best prospect in this international class, and that was outfielder Francisco Renteria. He is out of Venezuela. He's 17 years old, 6'3", 216 pounds. He's a big guy, right-hand hitter. He signed for $4 million, and it'll be interesting to see him progress through their minor league system. They also signed the 39th best prospect in this international class, Juan Parra. They signed him for $550,000. He's a shortstop out of Venezuela, 17 years old, 6'1", 186 pounds. He's a switch hitter and throws with his right hand. So 2 really good signings out of this international class to complement this Phillies farm system. So again, I always look at what if bad things happen to this team? What if they don't get out of the gates well? What could they do? Well, Taijuan Walker's a player that could be moved. He's $18 million in 26, and he's a free agent in 27. If he pitches well, maybe that's a player that another team would like to pick up. Brad Keller, I referenced him, this really good arm that came over. If he pitches well, but the team doesn't play well, he's owed $9 million in 26, $13 million in 27, but is a really good arm that a team that's in contention might want. Adolis Garcia, maybe less so, but again, he's a veteran that regardless of whether or not the Phillies are in the race, let's say Crawford's hitting on all cylinders, maybe he's an expendable player for this team. Crawford's paid $10 million this year and then is a 27 free agent. Jose Alvarado is a bullpen arm. We talked about $9 million this year. He's a free agent in 27. He could be moved. I mentioned Alec Baum at third base. Let's say Aiden Miller's ready to come out and play and can play third base. Do you move a guy like Baum? Owed $10.2 million this year, and he's a free agent next year. And then Edmundo Sosa is another player. Sosa, he's probably a utility guy for this team. He's owed $4.4 million this year. He's a free agent next year. Maybe wouldn't bring back as much in a deal, but I put him on the list anyway, just as somebody that could be moved. It's interesting. Trey Turner, he is signed past, 2000. Well, he's actually signed through 2033. So if you've got this player in Aiden Miller, who's going to be a shortstop, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Trey Turner and whether they look to move him at some point, or do they move into Aiden Miller to third base? Do they try to move Trey Turner to third base at some time? That'll be interesting to see. But, overall, this is a good Phillies team that I would expect great things from in 2026. So that is your Philadelphia Phillies. All right, so I didn't go over these teams and where I have them on my pyramid. So just to wrap up, I would see the Rockies absolutely in the bottom layer of my pyramid. One of those 10 teams in the bottom layer of my pyramid, probably the back half, maybe dead last, probably dead last. I kind of had the Cardinals back there as well, but the Rockies are, I think, worse than the Cardinals. I can't see them being out of the number 30 spot, just being honest. The Phillies, on the other hand, definitely at least a third-tier team. Could they be a second-tier team? Maybe. But I see them as a playoff team, no doubt about it. And, it's a team that I think could win 92 to 96 games, somewhere in there, could win the division easily. So, somewhere in that 2 to 3 tier. So that's it. That's it for the Rockies. That's it for the Phillies. I appreciate everybody listening. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to it. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow me on social media at TellUsEllisHQ. It is on X, that is on Instagram. And then also, if you have questions, want to join the show, want to challenge me on anything, have ideas, just email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. Again, a lot more coming at you this week. We're going to finish our previews, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.